Hello everyone, my name is Heidi. In this video we will be sharing the relevance of ground truthing wetlands within the context of the Working for Wetlands program. This may help you to identify your need or relevance of why you would want to ground truth wetlands. So let's have a look. Working for Wetlands uses a strategic planning approach to identify project areas that may be eligible for wetland rehabilitation as funds become available in future. For this particular exercise, I will be using Cape Farm Mapper to show you where the area is that we are going to zoom into. Reason for that is that all of the layers are already preloaded. You'll find our quaternary catchment layer there for the prioritized catchments, also the wetland map 5 and its confidence layer, which Nancy will explain a little bit later. So when we zoom in, our prioritized wetland catchments are shaded out in various colors of blue to taupey color, and you'll see the top 5% is the darkest shade of blue. And these are all of the wetlands or catchments that we know we have to go and verify to see whether there is in actual fact any wetlands up for rehabilitation. Now the catchment that we'll be looking at is the Kamma catchment. It's just west of George, and if we zoom into this catchment, you'll see it's on the watershed to the south of the Langeberg. Outeniq was reaching out to the east, and you'll see very few wetlands mapped on the northern side of these catchments. So when we click on one of those wetlands, we can see this one has been mapped as a valley bottom, and if we click on an orangey one, we'll see this one is mapped as seep. But as we know, we still have to go and verify whether this is in actual fact wetland and if it has been categorized in the correct category. So upon deciding or planning my trip, I had a look at the broader catchment, looking at roads that we can access, and I noted that there was something that looks suspiciously like a wetland to the northern side of the Kamma catchment. It's in the Attequas Kloof, and it definitely resembled something familiar to me. Upon looking through or flipping through different base maps, looking at Bing, one can see that there's definitely something that appears to be wetland. Going to Google, that was almost a clear giveaway that this is definitely worth going to check out. And one can also see that there is some sort of a degradation pattern downstream. So after we verified this wetland in field, it was actually noted as a very special and unique wetland, and should it have been mapped and have been run through our prioritization process, it would definitely have come up as one of the top catchments for future rehabilitation projects. And this is the value of ground truthing these wetlands, or going to have a look over the hill of for things that we note on Google. In the next couple of clips, Donovan Kotze will highlight some of the aspects of this wetland and why it's so important.
So why this wetland is so important? Well, firstly, it's still largely intact. It's quite a large wetland, and it's of a type that we find very seldom, and that's on the north side of the Langeberg. It's much drier than on the south, and so wetlands are far and few between. And here we've got a major wetland, also permanently wet, and it's, as far as we know, it supports one of the biggest peat deposits, certainly in this region. Biodiversity wise, in the intact area, it's likely to be a habitat that has been quite impacted. A lot of these wetlands in other areas have been lost, so it's really worth making an effort. And under extreme threat at the moment, exacerbated by aliens, but erosion is marching its way through this wetland. An important thing in terms of its conservation significance, that the catchment relative to a lot of catchments in the Western Cape is still in good condition. So a large area is in Cape Nature Reserve, and several of the landowners have had long-term commitments to clearing invasive alien plants. There's a little bit of plantation and a small amount of cultivation, but not much. It's in the bigger scheme of the catchment, it's in the foothills of the mountain, so it's fed by an extensive mountain catchment, a large catchment area, and it's in a valley bottom position. I'm not sure if you can see from there, and the section that we're particularly concerned about is about 30 hectares. For this sort of climate is certainly a large and a permanent or semi-permanent wetland.
When we do the ground truthing of wetlands, the aspects that Donovan highlighted are exactly the ones that we should take note of. This kind of information is invaluable to feed into the wetland map, and it's very useful for organizations and programs such as ourselves working for wetlands. I hope you have many happy days in wetlands.
Dan moet hierdie water drink jy nou reg.
Ek doen nog heel
heerlik, né?
Dis die skoonste en koudste water wat ek al ooit gedrink het in my lewe.
Dis skoon, gaan jy